Gi-hun won Squid Game, but what if he didn't? What if he lost, never made it to the final game, or someone else took the prize? Would the game still continue, or would something even worse happen? Today, we're breaking down exactly what would have happened if Gi-hun never won. And trust me, some of these alternate endings are way darker than you'd expect, starting with the most brutal possibility, the one that almost happened anyway. What if Song-woo won instead? Song-woo was seconds away from winning. He had the strategy, the intelligence, and the ruthlessness to take it all. But instead of finishing the game, he gave up. He made a choice to die rather than live with what he had done. But what if he didn't? What if he took that final step? What if he had killed Gi-hun? Would he finally feel at peace, or would the guilt eat him alive? Let's be real. He was already done before the game even ended. His mom was waiting for him, sure, but after everything he did, would he even be able to look her in the eye? He betrayed Ali, tricked Gi-hun, and backstabbed his way to the top. And here's the real question. Does Song-woo even make it out alive? Because if we think back to the start, this guy was already on the edge.
Cho Sang-woo, age 46 years, current loss 650 million won.
He was sitting in a bathtub, drowning in debt, about to end it all. If he walked out of Squid Game a winner, what's stopping him from ending up right back there? Except this time, drowning in blood money instead. But let's say he doesn't spiral. Let's say he actually embraces the win. We know Il-nam and the frontman love a smart recruit. So what if Song-woo became one of them? Does he ditch his conscience completely and join the system, turning from a desperate player into the kind of man who funds the next Squid Game? If that happens, he doesn't just win the game. He becomes something way worse than a player. But what if Sang-woo wasn't the only one who could have won? Because there was someone else, and she was way closer than most people realize. What if Sae-byeok took the prize instead? Sae-byeok was so close to making it. Out of 456 players, she survived all the way to the final 3, until Song-woo took that from her. But if things had played out differently, if she had made it to the last game instead of him, would she have beaten Gi-hun? And more importantly, what would she have done with the money? Let's talk about how she'd win first. Sae-byeok wasn't the strongest player, but she was the smartest when it came to survival. She stayed quiet, observed everything, and only made moves when she had to. If she made it to the final game, she wouldn't fight Gi-hun head-on like Song-woo did. She'd outlast him. And unlike Gi-hun and Song-woo, who were drowning in debt, Sae-byeok wasn't playing for herself. She had a purpose. Her little brother was waiting for her, and her mother was still trapped in North Korea. She wasn't there to gamble or win for pride. She just needed to survive. So if it came down to it, would she kill Gi-hun? Maybe, but she also might have convinced him to forfeit. She knew how to read people, manipulate situations, and play the long game. If anyone could get out of Squid Game without outright killing in the final round, it was her. So, let's say she does it. She wins. She walks out of that place alive, covered in blood, with 45.6 billion won in her hands. Now what? Does she actually make it to her mother? Or does someone stop her first? Because here's the problem. Sae-byeok isn't invisible. Think about it. Unlike Gi-hun, who barely touched his winnings, Sae-byeok would have to move fast. She'd have to bribe people, pull strings, buy forged documents, and find a way to get her mom out before someone noticed she suddenly had millions. And in Squid Game, we know money comes with strings attached. Would the wrong people start asking questions? Would the Squid Game organization really let her walk away, knowing she has a reason to expose them? And even if she made it out, where would she go? Would she ever be able to live a normal life again? Or would she end up running forever? But let's take this even further. What if there was no winner at all? Gi-hun almost did it. He was ready to forfeit the game, to walk away from the prize money, from all the bloodshed, from the nightmare that had taken 454 lives before him. He wanted out. But what if Song-woo actually agreed? What if, instead of stabbing himself, he took Gi-hun's hand and ended the game with no winner? Would the organizers really allow that? Because let's be honest, the Squid Game isn't about fairness, it's about entertainment. The VIPs weren't betting on a moral ending. They wanted a winner, a survivor, a final kill. So what happens when that doesn't happen? Would the frontman step in and force them to finish it? Would they be executed anyway just to satisfy the spectacle? Or would they be the first players to actually break the cycle? And here's another possibility. What if neither of them had a choice? What if, instead of stopping, they both died in the final round? Maybe Sang-woo still makes his last move, but this time, he takes Gi-hun down with him. A desperate last-second attack that leaves them both bleeding out in the dirt, with no one left to claim the prize. Then what? Does the money just sit there, untouched? Does the game reset for the next year without a winner? Or, and here's where things get really dark, does the prize money go to someone else? What if the organizers still followed their own rules and the last player to die got the winnings, meaning the money would go to Sang-woo's mother or Gi-hun's family? Imagine that. Sang-woo's mother selling fish at the market, suddenly getting a mystery deposit of 45.6 billion won, never knowing the cost. Or Gi-hun's daughter living comfortably in the US, with no idea that her father died in a game she'll never even hear about. And maybe that's the most tragic ending of all. But here's the real question. What if Gi-hun never even made it to the final game? What if he left the competition early? Would his life have been better? Or even worse? It almost happened. After red light, green light, when half the players were massacred, the survivors took a vote, and by a single vote, the game ended. Everyone was sent home. No money, no second chances, just back to their miserable lives. And for a moment, Gi-hun was free. So what if he never went back? What if, instead of re-entering the nightmare, he tried to fix his life the normal way? Would things have actually gotten better? Or would he have ended up worse than before? Because let's not forget, Gi-hun wasn't just broke. He was in massive debt. Loan sharks were coming after him. He had no job, no way to support his mother, and no chance of getting his daughter back. And with no prize money, that doesn't change. So what happens? Maybe he tries to turn his life around, work harder, find a way to provide for his mom and daughter without Squid Game. Maybe he even stays in touch with Sae-byeok and Ali, trying to help them survive in whatever small way he can. But let's be real, that's not the kind of story Squid Game tells. Because the truth is, the game would never really let him go. Maybe the loan sharks catch up to him first. Maybe he loses his mother anyway. Maybe he watches his daughter leave for the US, realizing he was powerless to stop any of it. And in the worst case, maybe the Squid Game finds him again. Because if he's still drowning in debt, still desperate, and still a perfect candidate for the next round, would they really let him go forever? Or would he eventually end up right back where he started? Except this time, there's no vote to stop the game. But no matter what happens to Gi-hun, one thing never changes. The games always continue. Or maybe that's the real horror of Squid Game. There was never a way out. Even if Gi-hun had walked away, even if he had tried to fix his life, the game would still be waiting for him. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, he'd be back where he started. Except this time, there's no vote to stop it. Because here's the thing, has anyone really escaped? Il-nam built the game, the frontman won before him. And Gi-hun? He was never supposed to win. Maybe the second he stepped into that arena, his fate was already sealed. And if that's true, then here's a better question. How many players sealed their own fate? Because in Squid Game, every death came down to one thing, a mistake. Whether it was trusting the wrong person, hesitating at the worst moment, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time, one bad move was all it took. So if you want to see every fatal mistake that got players killed, check out every player's biggest mistake that got them killed in Squid Game. Because looking back, most of them never even stood a chance.
देख रहे हैं इस पे बहुत बारीक बारीक पेच लगे हुए हैं ये वाले, तो ये इतना बारीक पेच कस तो नहीं है हमारे पास। हम खोलते हैं इसको, अभी चेक तो करें ही सही कि क्या निकलता है। हमारी भी फर्स्ट टाइम वीडियो है, फर्स्ट टाइम खोल रहे हैं इसको। टाइम तो इनका चला गया है वीसीआरों का, पर जो भी इनको देखता है खुश बहुत ज़्यादा होता है कि ये अच्छा टाइम था, अच्छा टाइम गुजरा है इनके साथ। आज से तकरीबन 6-7 साल पहले भी ये तकरीबन 8-9 हज़ार रुपए के थे। अब तो LEDs वगैरह आ गई हैं, आप लोगों को पता है, हर घर में ही होती हैं। है कि